Hi guys, it's Ashley again. Back with some more sourdough recipes and tips for you. So again, I'll throw it out there that if anybody really wants a sourdough start, please get a hold of me. I am on Facebook, or reach out to the library. I can bring you one. I'd be happy to. So today we are going to be making sourdough pizza dough. And this is one of my personal favorite recipes that I found with sourdough because it's easy. It does cheat a little bit. You use a tiny bit of active dry yeast, but it is easy and it is quick, and you have in 2 to 4 hours some really amazing pizza dough that I think is probably the best homemade pizza dough I've ever had. So, but I guess I haven't had a lot, but anyways, it's still really good. So what you're gonna need today for this recipe, and it's not a lot, I'm gonna turn it around and show you what you need. So you're gonna need a tablespoon, an empty one right now, I'll tell you what for, and that's for us, it's gonna be for the Johnny's garlic seasoning, but it calls for pizza seasoning. But if you don't have pizza seasoning, I'll read you some of the ingredients in this, and you can see if you can kind of come up with your own seasonings for the crust. It's really great. You're going to need a cup of your sourdough start. And actually they call for discarded sourdough start. Mine was fed this morning. It just, I think, helps make it rise quicker if it's fed. You're going to need 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour. And little tip on baking if you don't know, cups, baking measuring cups are for liquid, and the scoops are for powdered goods. However, I just wanted to measure it all out, so I just kind of threw the powdered goods in the cups. So 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour. You're going to need a 1/2 cup of warm water. You're going to need a teaspoon of salt and a 1/2 teaspoon, again, that's that little tiny bit of active dry yeast. And guys, honestly, that is it. It is such an easy recipe. And if you're like me and you're lucky enough to have a stand mixer, I have my trusty KitchenAid, which I'm so glad I have. You're gonna dump everything into that KitchenAid, and then you're gonna put the dough hook, and if you guys can see that, that's the dough hook. You're gonna put your dough hook attachment on, and you're gonna knead that sucker for 7 minutes. It's a good long knead, but the nice thing is, that's all you gotta do. I mean, you don't have to knead it by hand. If you don't have a kitchen stand, I assume kneading it by hand, you know, go for it. It's probably not that big of a deal. So, in goes the sourdough start. In goes the warm water. In goes the active dry yeast, a 1/2 teaspoon. And now I personally like to give those 3 things a quick mix because it kind of helps incorporate them, the liquidy stuff and the yeast with the warm water. So I think it kind of activates stuff a little bit better when you do make sure liquid's all together first. Again, I'm not a professional baker. It could be smoke and mirrors. So I got those kind of mixed up. And then you can toss in your flour, 2.5 cups. Now lately, because all-purpose flour has been kind of hard to come by, unbleached all-purpose, which is what I typically use or would use, I have been substituting about half when it calls for unbleached all-purpose flour. I've been substituting about half out for high gluten flour, which is great bread pastry flour. It just makes things a little more chewy if they call for all-purpose flour. But if you don't mind a little extra chew in your cookies or chewiness to muffins or whatever, and you're having trouble finding all-purpose, go ahead and use the high gluten. It's just fine, and it really feeds your sourdough start well. So in went the flour. In goes the teaspoon of salt. Now typically if I wasn't adding any seasoning, I might add a little bit more salt because my husband loves salt. So I like to, and you know, it gives you that taste. Who doesn't love salt? Well, maybe if you're on low sodium diet, you love it, but you can't have it. Anyways, so Johnny's garlic spread has been like the best tasting stuff ever in this pizza dough. So I'll kind of read what's in it here. There's some garlic, Parmesan cheese, salt, go figure, parsley, and that's just about it. And some fancy words for, I'm sure, some stuff that is kind of like, hopefully not completely MSG, but maybe MSG-esque. So what I do with this, and what I would recommend if you're going to add any seasonings, like rosemary's great, garlic's great, throw a little bit of that into your dough, and it really adds a lot of flavor and depth to it. But I do 3 tablespoons of this stuff in here. The recipe site I got this from is actually King Arthur. So King Arthur flour, wonderful flour. It's right up there for me with Bob's Red Mill. I like them both quite a bit. So go ahead and type in pizza dough sourdough recipe. And on King Arthur's site, that's where it is. Super easy. They have their own pizza dough seasoning through King Arthur. But like I said, I didn't have any, so, you know, whatever's handy's dandy right now. So go ahead. We got everything in the bowl. I'm looking around. Nothing's left out. It's all in there. Go ahead and give it a mix for 7 minutes. And then what you're going to do is you're going to get yourself a bowl. And you're going to grease the bowl. You're going to put the dough in there and cover it. And then you're going to let it rest in a warm place. That does not mean turn your oven on to warm and leave it in there. It will cook it. But if you kick your oven on for a little bit and then kick it off and let it rest in the warm environment, or just by a vent or something, let it rest for 2 to 4 hours until it's doubled, and you will definitely be able to see the difference. So I'll see you guys back in a couple hours, and hopefully we'll all be having some pizza tonight. Bye.